place.
Then it began the police work of matching those guns to bullet casings that they had received. And then they realized that this was a bigger case, and it began to unravel from there. That led to Pena.
The evidence that we have is not only firearm, but it's also from cell phones and electronic records, surveillance video, and multiple witnesses inside and outside of this conspiracy that have helped us weave together what occurred.
The SWAT team pulled him out yesterday. They made announcements for him to leave his house. He came out dressed in dark clothing, but just regular street clothing. But the one picture that police put up showed him in the MAGA gear with the Trump flags behind him, and police said that is their guy.
So if this is indeed how it all went down, Alex, is this like the nightmare scenario? Because we thought the nightmare scenario was a politician openly endorsing violence against political rivals. This goes a step beyond that, because this is allegedly a politician partaking in violence against political rivals.
Absolutely. Police will tell you when it comes to political violence that really nothing surprises them anymore after January 6th. But the big concern has been that a lone wolf would be motivated to go out and do something. And police nationwide, they have tried to track down those who have been in some form radicalized. So all of this comes into play.
At the end of the day, this was about a right-wing radical, an election denier who was arrested today.
You had this candidate with a criminal history who apparently had the motivation to, according to police, go out and carry out a crime like this. And they say he was doing it for the last month and some odd weeks, that even on one of those, going out himself and allegedly pulling the trigger on the others, allowing somebody else to do his dirty work. But they say he was behind it.
It's unbelievable. All right, Alex Stone, thank you so much.
You got it. Thanks, Brad.
Next up on Start Here, it's home to some of the deadliest places on Earth, but the airplane is not supposed to be one of them. We'll take you to Nepal after the break.
You never know what you're going to get on this show. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yes, Whoopi!
Is this mic on? Can you hear me out there?
Behind the scenes is always a better show.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's what people don't see during the commercial break.
Right, they don't.
What happened?
I had no idea really what I was getting myself into.
That day that we walked out, I treasure that day. I couldn't sit there.
You're doing good, Joy. You're doing good.
Oh, yeah, baby.
It was crazy.
Behind the Table. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any place else. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir. America's #1 most watched newscast. Now streaming on ABC News Live. After an extraordinary news-making year, thank you for making ABC's This Week America's #1 news and politics show on Sunday mornings.
Zoo!
200!
Oh, 200.
200 episodes of Dr. Pol. Oh. Music to my ears.
It's been 10 years, and I'm still having fun.
That rocks. He's got the moves that make your animals groove.
Now we do the dance of joy.
Yay. He's like the Justin Bieber of the
Headlining the hottest barns.
Shout out.
It's a show you won't want to miss.
I'm not going to be here forever. Maybe.
The Incredible Dr. Pol. New episodes Saturdays at 9 on Nat Geo Wild.
Get ready, America, every Friday.
The hottest trends, styles, and must-have. What's the right stuff to buy right now? I really love that. It's time to buy the right stuff.
Yes.
And save big time, too.
The right stuff.
Fridays on GMA. You're going to love it.
This is ABC News Live Prime.
Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Live reporting, breaking news, exclusives, award-winning, powerful, eye-opening. ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis. Streaming weeknights.
When you think of Nepal, you immediately think of the Himalayas, the highest, most rugged terrain in the world, in a nation that's tucked between India and China.
Top of the world, Mount Everest.
One to the left, one to the right.
We made it.
This week, though, the eyes of the world are on Nepal, not because of an Everest ascent, but because of a deadly plane crash, one of several that has taken place in recent years in this country. And that rugged terrain, well, that's posed challenges all its own. Let's take you straight to ABC's foreign correspondent, Britt Clennett, who has made her way to Kathmandu this morning. Britt, can you just describe this airliner crash and where it took place?
Well, Brad, just to give you an idea, I'm in Kathmandu, which is about 80 miles from Pokhara, where the crash happened. Now, Pokhara is known as a kind of haven for tourists. It's a gateway to the Himalayas, which is why there were 15 foreigners on board this plane. The flight was about 25 minutes. It's kind of a shuttle from Kathmandu to Pokhara, but it crashed less than a mile before landing in Pokhara. This was a twin-engine turboprop aircraft, and it was operated by Nepal's Yeti Airlines. And it took off, as I say, from Kathmandu for this short-hour flight, but obviously did not make it. 1 minute from landing, the plane banked sharply to the left before exploding. And an airport spokesman said the pilot actually requested to change runways before the crash, and it was granted. But what we're expecting is the bodies of the victims to be sent here to Kathmandu, including, as I say, those 15 foreign nationals who were on board. There will likely to be some kind of vigil at the crematorium with their grieving families, Brad.
And do we know what caused it? You said that they requested a change of runways. I mean, do we know what was going on board?
Well, I mean, weather conditions can be a problem in this region. However, it was a blue sky day. It was clear. The hope is, though, that these black boxes that have now been found could offer clues as to what caused this, horrific accident. Right now, though, there are more questions than answers. And, an expert we spoke to today said that it's inconclusive. Everything is inconclusive.
Flying can be very demanding there because of weather conditions and winds and things of this nature. So we've got a lot to evaluate and understand.
We know the plane was about 15 years old. As I say, weather conditions were fine. So at this stage, it's still a mystery. But that local official also telling us that the search operation is extremely hard. The crash site in this gorge, it's very narrow and it's very deep. And it's a real challenge for search and rescue teams who are even using oxygen to operate there. And unfortunately, officials now tell us this is a mission to recover the bodies and that everyone on board that flight has died.
Wow. You've actually reported that we've seen, this is not the first recent crash, that this country has actually had several airliner crashes going back several years now. Is there a reason for that? Are there broader concerns here for this country and this industry?
Yeah, Brad, I think there's a strong sense of frustration here, and you hear that from people. Why are there so many crashes here? It's not only heartbreaking for families and the nation, but also, damages the country's reputation and hurts the economy, which relies so much on tourism.
Not only is Nepal a very treacherous place, a dangerous place to fly, but the Nepalese government has resisted efforts to bring their safety standards up to modern European or U.S. standards.
Of course, this is tricky terrain for pilots, but a number of experts we've spoken to said that there are systemic issues at play here, that there needs to be a complete overhaul of the regulatory system.
There must be a clear separation between regulatory authority and service provider and airport operator in Nepal.
The former head of Nepal's aviation body today, he told us that there needs to be an improvement on almost every level. More regulation, more manpower, more resources. So as I say, a lot of frustration here and a lot of anger on the ground, especially when you start to see those mourning families who are asking why again.
Right. One, of course, is too many. And then the fear that comes along with thinking that there might be a pattern here, especially when it's so difficult for help to arrive when something does go wrong. Britt Clennett, there in Kathmandu. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brad.
You remember last year when Elon Musk made the extraordinary decision to take a public company private, to essentially buy out shareholders at Twitter and run the thing himself. Well, this actually wasn't the first time he had floated an idea like this. He suggested he was going to try this with the company Tesla back in 2018, the company he had, of course, taken public years prior, but that never came to fruition. Tesla is still a publicly traded company today. And that is why later today, Elon Musk will be in a federal courtroom facing a civil class action trial alleging securities fraud. All of this continues to point at a fundamental question. If a huge part of the economy will be fueled by electric cars, is Elon Musk the guy you want driving you there? ABC's Max Zahn covers business and technology. Max, first of all, can you just explain why is Elon Musk on trial today?
Yeah, so we've got a big moment today for Elon Musk, and it goes back to something that happened in 2018.
I use my tweets to express myself. Some people use their hair. I use Twitter.
Elon Musk of all things, put out a tweet. You never expect that from Elon Musk. He said that he wanted to take Tesla private and that he'd secured funding at a really nice price, like $420 a share, which would have come out to about a $70 billion deal to take that company private. And it took the stock soaring.
Musk had tweeted he had lined up the financing to pay for a $72 billion buyout of the electric vehicle company. He then tweeted again that made the deal seem imminent. Only it wasn't.
And now we have shareholders who've come out and said, well, where'd that deal go? The deal never happened. We saw stock volatility as a result of that announcement, and then in the ensuing weeks and months, it never coming to fruition.
The whole thing led to a $40 million settlement with the SEC that also required Musk to step down as CEO.
And so now that we have shareholders saying, we want to recoup that money that we've lost, that this deal never happened, and that it seems like you manipulated the price of this stock.
You know, I want to be clear. I do not respect the SEC. I do not respect them.
What's happening today is jury selection in that trial that's finally come up, and it's coming up at a really interesting moment for Musk, where we have shareholders upset at him for a very different reason, but nonetheless the trial taking place over what happened a few years ago.
Yeah, Musk has already said this was on the level, that he had funding at the time. A judge has already declared his statements were false at the time, though. But, Max, like you said it's ironic that this statement was originally made on Twitter. Now he's the boss of Twitter, and the value of the company where he really makes money, like Tesla and SpaceX are clearly where he makes the bulk of his money. Tesla's stock has plummeted. Like I'm looking at since April of last year when he made the Twitter offer, it's gone down like more than 50%. What is going on with Tesla?
Yeah, so these are tough times for Tesla, and it's hard to say exactly how much of it has to do with the distraction that Elon Musk clearly does have at Twitter, though it's quite possibly related. You have an electric vehicle market that's gotten really crowded. When Tesla first got into the business, it was one of the first movers. They were a dominant company in the space, and they were selling cars like crazy, and they were able to set the price of that car at a pretty high price point because there wasn't competition that was undercutting their car. Well, now we've got a ton of major car companies, some of the big ones, some of the classic Detroit automakers. You have Ford, you have General Motors, others that have gotten into making and selling electric vehicles. So now Tesla's facing that competition from these companies, and they've struggled as a result.
Tesla's sales rose 35% in the July-September period compared to the second quarter, but the delivery numbers still fell far short of estimates.
As a result, they've tried to cut prices. They tried to take other steps. Nonetheless, you've seen the stock fall, and you've seen investors get pretty upset with what they're seeing from the company.
They're some of the trendiest cars on the road, packed with some of the most advanced technology. But Tesla's known worldwide for their autopilot features are at the heart of several deadly crashes.
These struggles at Tesla have coincided with very aggressive interest rate hikes at the Federal Reserve. And those interest rate hikes are meant to slow down the economy, and they do so by making it more expensive to borrow. And when you have big ticket items, whether that's a house at a mortgage rate or that's a car and a car loan, that's going to cut into the demand for that product, because you have people who maybe don't want to buy one right now. They want to wait out those interest rate hikes and get a car loan at a more affordable rate. And why not just wait a year? I'll take Uber, I'll take Lyft, I'll find a way to get to work, and I'll get that car down the road. And so if I'm Tesla, some of that struggle has nothing to do with Elon Musk. It doesn't even have anything to do with competition in EVs. It's just a tough time to buy a car.
If he is distracted, you mentioned distracted maybe by Twitter, if that is an issue, like how much does that affect a company like Tesla? Like these things, I thought, self-driving is supposed to be a thing.
Absolutely. So you have him very publicly and very apparently distracted by Twitter. So tweeting a lot, making very major changes at Twitter in a very short period of time. And meanwhile, the company, at least investors will tell you, needs his attention to make these very careful, very important decisions at an inflection point where they have to decide how they're going to respond to this rising competition. He'll claim, meanwhile, that he's been at all the major Tesla meetings, that he's still heavily involved with the company, and that this notion that he can't handle what's going on at Tesla as he brings Twitter from what he's described as the brink of a financial crisis in its own right for Twitter, he has said that he can do both and that he's been doing both at Tesla, and that worry is overstated. But meanwhile, you have, as you mentioned, that stock price just continuing to plummet and people wondering, where he is and if he's asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, and when Elon Musk bought Twitter, everyone was like, the cost to him is negligible compared to his broader fortune. But the issue with Twitter, I think, has made a lot of people like, would you trust this man running your rocket ship? Would you trust him running your car? And if those prices go down, that really has an impact on Elon Musk's influence in the world. Max Zahn, covering business and tech. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, one more quick break. When we come back, books have been written about the Italian mafia, but one chapter just came to a close. One Last Thing is next.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers.
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
Here at the White House.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
Here
along I-5. Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
Bring them on. If only there was a place in the morning to start my day. With a smile, somewhere to help me get in the know. A place that's spectacular as well. Me.
I think we might know a place, right, guys?
Bring your friends. Oh, wait, there is.
Good morning, America.
GMA, 7A, every day. Boom. Boom. Boom.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Robin. Good morning, America. How are you?
Boom. Now that's how you start your day, people.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you?
How cute.
Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 12 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show. You never know what you're going to get on this show. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yes, Whoopi!
Is this mic on? Can you hear me out there?
Behind the scenes is always a better show.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's what people don't see during the commercial break.
Right, they don't.
What happened?
I had no idea really what I was getting myself into.
That day that we walked out, I treasure that day. I couldn't sit there.
You're doing good, Joy. You're doing good.
Oh, yeah, baby. It was crazy.
Behind the Table. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
America's #1 news, ABC News. Most watched, most trusted, and streaming live to you anytime, anywhere, and free. This is ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Free to you 24/7. Watch America's #1 news whenever you want it, wherever you are, anytime. ABC News Live, streaming live and free on all platforms. From America's #1 news comes the all-new ABC News app. Breaking news, incredible video, faster, smarter, and customizable to your interests. If you love being in the know, you're gonna love this. Experience the all-new ABC News app. Download it now. Now streaming on ABC News Live 2020. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues. The Hunt. True crime 2020. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
And one last thing. It wasn't personal, it was strictly business. That's how Italy's top police force described it yesterday as they arrested the most wanted man in Italy and one of the top remaining bosses of the Cosa Nostra.
Also.
Matteo Messina Denaro had spent the last 30 years on the run. Several times he's been convicted in absentia, linked to dozens of murders. When a mafia insider began spilling secrets in 1993, prosecutors said it was Denaro who had the man's 12-year-old son kidnapped and eventually killed. Like, this was not movie mafia. Authorities describe him as leading a brutal crime syndicate that terrorized a country. When he was caught in Sicily yesterday, locals began applauding the masked police officers who took him down. The prime minister flew in just to congratulate them. And when you hear about the list of this guy's alleged victims, it's even more shocking that he wasn't caught sooner. He's said to have orchestrated the killings of top prosecutors, of bombings, and of the assassination of the brother of Italy's current-day president.
For years, all authorities had to go on were composite sketches.
And yet, until this week, Italian police say they didn't even have a picture of what this guy looked like. Their most recent photo was from 30 years ago, which is why they created a digital rendering of what he might look like now. The break in the case came because in recent years, Denaro had to go to the doctor. Cops learned through wiretaps he had a specific type of cancer and started combing hospital databases for patients seeking a particular treatment. When they cornered him on the street, he didn't even bother giving the fake name on his ID. He said straight up he was Messina Denaro, the man whose nickname was Diabolic. The question now, though, is it too late for this arrest to matter? Italian experts say while this guy did take over as a key leader of the Corleone family, the Cosa Nostra no longer runs the drug trade in Italy. That distinction now belongs to other groups. The most important message here, perhaps, was, while the mafia has a long memory, so do police. I always forget how strict the mafia hierarchy is. Like, even though this guy was this top player in this family, he was never going to be the head honcho because apparently the boss of bosses has to be from the city of Palermo in Sicily. See, you always learn something new here. I'm Brad Milkey. See you tomorrow.
At stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir, America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television.
This is where I belong. This is home. Real dirt in the sunlight again. I'm very excited. Anything could happen at any moment. My heart is so happy right now. We're making magic. We're making magic.
With so much at stake in our world right now, we wanted to thank you for your trust and for making ABC News America's #1 news.
And thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
You never know what you're going to get on this show. That's all I'm going to tell you.